Hello friends, and welcome back to Shelley Skylines, Canberra. And in today's episode, we're starting our first proper build in our new city. And since starting the Canberra build, it has become very apparent to me that there are a couple of things that we're going to need to master if we're going to do this justice. So the first thing is dryness. Yes, Canberra is very dry. Dry as a dead dingo's donger, as they say. So we'll be testing out some different approaches to try and achieve the same look. The other thing, given it's the capital of Australia, there are just so many monuments and memorials and places of significance. So lots of little custom things that we need to build as well. But with all that being said, given we're recreating a real life city, it makes sense to vaguely follow along the history of Canberra. And so we're going to start our builds in one of the oldest parts of town, Campbell. And we'll also today be adding in the oldest standing building in Canberra, and some of the farms that helped establish this area. But if we're going to start a suburb, the first thing we need is roads. So pretty much how I'm doing this is we have Google Earth on the left and Skylines on the right. And we're literally trying to follow the map down to the direction of the roads, the number of lanes, and all that type of stuff. So now we have our roads down, let's look at some buildings. Now when it comes to buildings in Canberra, the home of bureaucracy, you better believe there are some rules. And so, I think it's time for some fun Canberra facts. Now, for those of you that may not know, when it comes to buildings in Canberra, there is actually this funny little planning rule that prevents any building from visually dominating the city skyline. It's basically a bunch of rules and regulations that govern how certain things in Canberra need to be set up. It's known as the National Capital Plan, and it's administered and enforced by the National Capital Authority. This body has been around since the 50s, when it was known as the National Capital Development Commission. But with the building height, the idea behind it is that the Australian flag should be the highest symbolic element in the city, sitting proudly on top of Parliament House. So rather than competing with tall towers, the city was designed to stay low, open, and visually connected to the surrounding landscape. And this is why you end up with this really flat skyline right across Canberra. So for this build, we definitely need to conform to that. So I'm not zoning anything high density anywhere in this city. So that's going to be quite different because obviously we do love a good Shelley skyline on this channel. I actually spent my Christmas and New Year break obviously doing this, but also watching a lot of old videos about the Canberra Planning Authority and how all of that works. Because that's what we do with our free time over here. How about you? But I'll link some of these below in case anyone is interested. So making a good start now, let's take a look. So we have the shops right here in the middle of the suburb using one of the new assets I found on Paradox Mods by Grooney. And another part of this whole planning of Canberra and another fun Canberra fact is they have ensured that there is a local shops in every suburb. Next we have the Campbell Primary School. I just went with the classic OG elementary school for this, and we have so much education here in Canberra, which I guess is accurate. But this is mostly due to adding in some of those ANU buildings back over at Black Mountain. So we're definitely staying on theme with all the education. And next, just a few parks. Like the shops, I'm pretty sure it's also part of Canberra planning standards that you need to have a park or an open green space of some kind. And just a little bit of commercial along here, and it's kind of funny how busy it is down here, because usually it's pretty quiet. There is a pub here and some restaurants, but mostly just servicing the public servants who work nearby at the various federal government offices, mostly the Department of Defence. And actually, we will be ensuring that they have some customers in the next episode as we build out Russell down along the bottom of Campbell here. Speaking of down here, this is where Canberra's oldest standing structure is, known as Duntroon Dairy. A lot of this whole eastern side of the city was historically known as Duntroon. Today, this is where the Royal Military College, Duntroon, is spread out across the landscape. But long before Canberra was even considered as the nation's capital, this area was farmland. The land right here was settled in the 1800s by Robert Campbell, who the suburb of Campbell is named after, and the Duntroon estate became one of the most productive farming properties on the limestone plains. The dairy itself played a really practical role in early settlement life. It produced milk, butter, and other dairy products for the people living and working in the area, supplying nearby homesteads and settlements well before there was anything resembling a city here. So it's just a quiet little old stone building today, but Duntroon Dairy is a direct link back to Canberra's farming past, long before politics, monuments, or master plans came into the picture. So I just used a basic residential house for this and messed around with some decals and things until it looked reasonable enough to the picture. At the time, I wasn't totally happy with it, but now I'm looking at it again, it's not bad. It definitely looks old at least. So it makes sense to follow along the story and add some farms in over here. Am I just avoiding trying to recreate the entire Duntroon Military College? Yes, at least for now. And we need some farms, so this isn't going to be very detailed as I do see it as a temporary fixture. So let's just whack in some dirt roads and an array of farms. And I noticed fish farming is a new addition since I last played this game, so that's fun. But I'm keen to get started on trying to create some of this landscape around here. So right along this part of Campbell is known as the Mount Pleasant Nature Reserve. It's a protected natural area of bushland with Mount Pleasant right here, and on the top of the hill is a memorial to all ranks of the Royal Regiment of Australian Artillery, and it really shows you where the bush capital moniker comes from. Now, I have been thinking about changing the default surfaces in this game to something else, but I haven't quite found something that fits. Maybe if you have any recommendations, let me know. But for now, I think we'll just play around with all of these new amazing decals and surfaces and see if we can create some kind of natural landscape around this monument. So this was some real trial and error. For down here as well, I messed around with a few different surfaces and the riverbed from Sully looked the best up close. And in real life, the dirt is a bit red here as well, so there's lots of good sand and dust decals to try and layer that in. I'm pretty sure I even used some rust decals as well. Trees really help to make all the different edges all blend in together, and in the absence of any Australian trees like eucalypts or gum trees, I found that using dead trees actually to be quite a suitable temporary workaround. Especially when I started to add in the dead little bushes, they really helped to give it the kind of look we're going for. So I think in summary, the approach here was use the Sully riverbed surface all over, and I think a lot of the decals I used are from a Dirty Roads pack by Glendo 87, and then using that combination of dead oak trees and dead shrubs mixed in with some real trees. And speaking of trees, I think that's all of our main things done now, so we probably just need to fill in the rest of the place with some fine shrubbery. And I'm being pretty loose with this too. I don't really care if I go over some of the backyards and stuff. I reckon it helps it all blend in a bit more. It made me realise doing this too. For one final fun Canberra fact, houses don't usually have front fences. So it's another Canberra quirk to try and promote openness and community, but I'll be damned if I'm going to remove every fence on every house in this city. So fine shrubbery fixes all. And with that, I hope you enjoyed building out our first suburb of Canberra. We are just getting started. And if there's anything you want featured in this series, just let me know down below. But for now, I'll catch you in the next one. Okay, thanks, bye.